Hi, everybody. I just wanted to jump on here to say happy Passover, um, resurrection, crucifixion, ascension, and just talk a little bit about God's calendar, especially as we are approaching this time on God's calendar of the Passover. We're going to just talk about God's calendar, but before we do that, I just want to share with you something exciting. I had the incredible opportunity to be on a podcast last week. I was on Barry Miracle's podcast sharing a testimony, and it was a very powerful time. And so that podcast will be out, I believe, middle of next week. And we're going to put it up here on my YouTube site. But also, if you want to go to Barry Miracle's website, it will be there as well. So that's really exciting. And then I do have a podcast coming up with an incredible woman who's doing advocacy work in BC regarding human trafficking. And it's going to be really good. I will be excited to share that with you. I want to share a little bit about God's calendar. So if you don't know much about following God's calendar or the Jewish calendar, there is a very good book by Dr. Candace Smitherman. It is called 365 Days of Prophetic Revelations of the Hebrew Calendar. So this lets you know what month we're in, the dates, prophetic revelations. It is absolutely such a good, powerful book. And one of the incredible things about following God's calendar is it opens up an invitation to position yourself to receive even more blessings in your life. He said in the Bible that he does not change and his times and seasons do not change. And so if we know how to position ourselves for what's coming, then we can receive more blessings. And if we don't know, then we just don't know. Today, as I'm recording this, it is Nisan 8 and March 26, 2026. But in God's calendar, it's Nisan 8. So Nisan 14, which we're coming into in the next few days, is the beginning of Passover. And so, of course, this marks the time when Moses was instructed by God to tell the Israelites to take a sacrifice lamb and paint it over everybody's door frames so that they would be saved. And at the same time this year, we're also remembering the crucifixion, which is when God came as the lamb, the sacrifice lamb. Jesus came as the sacrifice lamb. And then we have the resurrection, is when Jesus defeated death and was resurrected. And then we have ascension. And it says in the Bible that when Jesus ascended, he actually took the church in advance. And so this is how we have access to the heavenly realms. If you haven't heard of God's calendar and you would like to learn more, getting Dr. Candace Smitherman's book it's very good. It's also become a bestseller. Even in the Jewish section, it's become a bestseller. And so God is doing very great work getting the earth back on his calendar time. The more people know about it, the better it will be. And so in Exodus and other places of the Old Testament, God goes through the months. He gives the names of the months, and he created his calendar. Everything is named after him and his character and the things that he's going to be doing in the earth. And the word says that God doesn't change and his times and seasons do not change. And so what happened was there was a bunch of bishops that met and formed a council called Nicaea. And the Emperor Constantine at the time led this meeting, and everybody decided and agreed that they would move away from God's calendar, and they created the calendar that we currently follow. So the months that we have are named after people. It's not named after God or his character or anything like that. And so it actually took God's people out of alignment. And that fulfilled a prophecy in Daniel. But now there are more and more people, more than ever before, getting onto God's calendar. And so you just include both calendars. You include God's calendar, you make yourself aware of what day it is, what month you're in, and um, position yourself to know what's coming, what God is going to do in the earth next. And you can know because he sets it all up very easy for us to understand. And if you are wondering, how does following God's calendar apply to me? You don't really have an awareness about it, or maybe it's not a passion on your heart. One of the keys to learn and know is that when God spoke his calendar to Moses, it is in the Torah, it is the written word of God, and it is still for us today, just as much as it was back then. And if you are a believer, then you are grafted in with the Israelites and with God as one. And if you just want to start by Googling what day it is in the Jewish calendar, or what day it is in the Hebrew calendar, what day it is on God's calendar, you can Google any of those three, and it will bring up the exact date it is for you. So I encourage you to learn everything you can about God's calendar and include both in your life. The Gregorian calendar, that's the calendar the whole earth is on, and God's calendar, and position yourself to receive greater revelations, greater understanding, greater depths, and more blessings. Happy Passover and happy Ascension.